Although T+1 isn't mandatory and there are no penalties, there are wider implications across the industry that firms need to consider. There are also specific regulatory obligations that apply to certain market segments of the industry. For example, when it comes to the buy side, there are specific requirements around allocations. Only buy-side firms can provide allocations. From a DTCC perspective, we recommend that the buy side complete all of their allocations by 7 PM EST on trade date. That will allow them a window of time to be able to address any issues ahead of the formal cutoff at 9 PM EST. In addition to that, for investment managers, there is a record-keeping requirement under the regulations where they need to maintain records and trade archive of all the transactions that they've entered into. On the broker-dealer side, there's also a requirement for them to retain and create policies and procedures which will support the process of confirmation, affirmation and allocation, which needs to be completed as soon as technologically practicable on trade day. Finally, from a DTCC perspective, ITP matching will be designated a central matching service provider, a CMSP. With that comes a number of requirements. ITP is going to have to put in a set of policies and procedures all around facilitating STP. In addition to that, we're going to have to provide an annual report, and within that annual report, you'll have to provide details on the progress that's been made in the prior 12 months, as also lay out a detailed plan around what's going to come in the next 12 months around driving further STP within the industry. From a market participant's perspective, I'd say that broker-dealers and custodians are very much well prepared. From a broker-dealer perspective, they're very aware of the regulatory obligations that apply to them. On the custodian side, I think from their perspective too, they're very aware of the obligations more broadly from a T1 perspective. They're very much staying up to speed around all of the market developments that are taking place and looking to share that with their underlying clients, which is very much aligned to their custodial services that they provide to those clients more broadly. On the buy side, generally speaking, the larger investment managers are very well prepared. I'd probably call out the small to medium tier investment managers who may be depending on their broker-dealer or custodians to deliver on their T+1 obligations, to maybe spend a little bit more time understanding whether that's actually going to be the case and what requirements very much sit with them to deliver on. Unfortunately, manual processes and a lack of STP are still extremely prevalent across the securities industry. I'd actively encourage firms to take a step back and review all of the processes and functions that they perform from an end-to-end workflow associated to securities processing, with a lens of T1 applied to it. To meet the accelerated settlement timeframe, firms should really think about how they can drive further STP, look at automation across the workflow, and if anything, how can they drive a no-touch workflow across both their confirmation, allocation and affirmation processes, really trying to get to a point where there's minimal to no human interaction in that entire flow. If you're also a registered investment advisor, the real question would be is how can you leverage digital platforms to actually archive and store all of your trade records so as you can discharge those responsibilities that come from a record keeping perspective too. Now let's come to testing. It's absolutely critical that firms have taken a step back and looked at designing and are now implementing their testing program. If firms are looking for experts to help enhance their overall testing package, then please do reach out to DTCC. We have a breadth of experiences within our consulting practice that can support you from design through to implementation and also post-implementation review of your projects aligned to T+1 implementation. The key thing for me really to say is that now is the time to start testing. We've opened testing from a DC perspective, so please test, test, test.